What's up, everybody? It's Colin Stevens back with the F2 podcast. Today we are joined by my friend Kevin Schneider. Kevin Schneider with Big Shots. Good to have you, my man.
Hey, appreciate you having me on. I've been tuning in to you doing this many times, and appreciate you coming to the office and knocking this out.
No doubt, man. So Kevin is with, like I just said, he's with Big Shots, and Big Shots holds it down, really, mostly East Coast.
Yeah.
Right? But some stuff, everywhere. I'm going to let you talk about it, obviously. But Kevin and I met through, I do the training. Kevin and his dad started Big Shots how long ago?
2006. This is our 14th year, man.
2006. So they've been at it, man.
Yeah.
Running tournaments, exposure, helping kids get to the next level, doing an awesome job at it. So, Kevin, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about that side of things.
Yeah, so we started in 2006. I played, my dad coached. We had ties east to west, and we were living here in Myrtle Beach at the time. And a lot of people don't know how Big Shot started.
Yeah.
Really cool story. When I played, my dad had coached for 20 years, and he resigned. We moved to Phoenix, and we started a team. I was an unsigned senior at that time, and started a team, and we had David, who was my younger brother on that team, and our team was good. We were 33-4, one of the top teams in the West. But we had two other teams, another team that was solid, and our third team would just get hammered. And they would just love being a part of what we were on the circuit and a part of our organization, whatever. Happened to be the guy on that team was a guy named Guy Burkstaller, and Guy happened to be the VP of Dick's Sporting Goods, and his son Taylor Burkstaller was on that team. And our goal with that group was just to have those guys play varsity basketball. Happened to be one of the players got a scholarship to Iona. Unfortunately, 2 years after he had graduated high school, his son Taylor had fallen off a cliff riding a bike.
Oh.
He calls us and is like, "Hey, Jeff, Kevin, the most fun I had with my son was youth basketball tournaments, was with you guys. And I want to start a tournament in his honor." And at that time, he was the VP of Dick's, and we're like, we'd be honored to do that. And what would we want to call it? And he said, let's call it Big Shots. And so Dick's sponsored our events for the first 3 years. Our first event, I was talking with my dad yesterday about this, the number of scholarship dollars we've had come through in 14 years is over $400 million.
Jeez.
But we started with 19 teams. Now, the 19 teams had a guy named John Wall in it, had a guy, Kimball Walker, in it. We had 19 really good teams. But to see the growth of 19 teams to over 3,000 is special.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of people have contributed to that. College coaches attending,
Sure.
fans, parents, players, media. Just to see what it's grown to since 2006 is special, but it wouldn't have started without a Guy Burkstaller.
Right.
And that's why we cater to all levels of talent.
Yeah.
And it's a story that we, hold close to our heart, just because we see many players come through, a Grayson Allen, a Bryce Johnson, players that were under the radar at one point, now have blossomed into NBA pros. So,
Right.
But that's the origin of Big Shots and how it all started.
That's awesome, man. It's interesting to hear that story because, you guys are just talking about your 14th year now, but because of something that was so impactful for you guys and the purpose of why you do something, like purpose carries you on when things aren't going so well, right? And so my question there is, like, have there been difficult times, running this business and things changing and employees coming and going? Like, have there been any like difficult things that you have had to work through that stand out in your mind, maybe a period of time that you've had to work through that purpose has really pushed you forward and going?
Well, being a coach's son and living in all the different places, you don't know why you're doing that. You're always having to adapt to having new friends. You're the new kid at school. And now in this business, you realize why God put you through certain situations growing up. And even in my dad's situation, we would move, it seemed like every 3 to 5 years.
Right.
Fortunately, we have ties east to west, and for our company, it's allowed us to grow in that way.
Yeah.
I think adapting is another big key to what we do. You've seen even recently the rules changing.
Right.
And we may be as good as anybody out there at taking what they're telling you and studying it and then figuring out ways to provide the best platform for the kids with the new rule sets.
Right.
So I think adapting's big. Staff, we've also had the privilege of having great staff over the years.
Yeah.
I think we're up to about 28 guys now coaching in the college ranks that were on our staff at one point. We provide, obviously a opportunity for coaches that maybe were let go to get into working the events, get familiar with the teams, the players, and then get back into it.
Right.
Also, people that were managers wanting to be coaches, they come in, they work, and then they get on a staff. Building relationships. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
It's all about relationships and people trusting you with their child to put them in the best situation to achieve a college scholarship. And the relationships that we've grown east to west over the years nationally is awesome.
Yeah.
It's something that I cherish more than anything. We have 193 guys in the NBA. And I cherish the relationship more so than the fame.
Yeah.
With them, I think just seeing that Carl Towns running to his car to get a T-shirt. He'd just been on the Dominican Republic team at 14, where we had 2 coaches in the gym at 14 checking him out. I'm like, that's the number 1 player in the nation right there.
Yeah.
He ended up offering. At that time, it was Kansas and Virginia Tech, but. He stories like that you develop is fun. It's the relationships, the ability to adapt over the years. We've been faced with some challenges in those ways, but we like the challenge though.
Yeah.
I think we are one of the few companies that runs events in different regions.
Mm-hmm.
And our events in Philly are some of the best events in Philadelphia, the best events in Richmond, the best events throughout the Carolinas. Tennessee's an area we're really hitting. Georgia, we've had a lot of great events. And Florida's a new area that we're planning on hitting in 2020.
Right.
That we're really excited about.
I dig it, man. So also along with some of the challenges have been just the blessings of you recently getting married, having a baby, and so the event business, primarily being on the weekends, planning and prepping during the week, events on the weekends. Like, what are the challenges that's come with having a family, and how have you adapted in that way?
Well, having that's my team.
Yeah.
That's the Schneider team, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have a great support system, it makes challenges even harder.
Right.
And my wife, Ferris, is amazing. She does so much for me, like behind the scenes that people don't see. But she is a great mother, great wife, very supportive. Hopefully once we knock out a couple kids, we already have one, Brooklyn, who's a hooper. She loves ball, man. I mean, she wakes up every morning, hands me the remote, ball, and,
right.
and she it's in her blood, I guess. But having her as a support system is so key, because this job that we do is not easy.
Yeah.
It's similar to coaching, where you're constantly on the road. Your mind is constantly thinking about your team or your events, and that's not always easy for your loved one, knowing that you're spending a lot of time towards that. But the benefit is she likes to travel, and our company's been successful, so it's provided for our family in that way. But without her, it'd be very tough.
Yeah. Well, like talking about some stuff on the weekends, gosh, there's probably you probably got almost an 8-month block almost for weekends. I mean, so in all the events that you guys do, something that you and I were kind of started to discuss, prior to airtime here was faith, and how that how that has evolved for you over the years, and how I'm sure it's a challenge for you to spend much time being regular at church or wherever that you might go. But if you'll kind of let us in a little bit on how how things were like for you growing up, faith wise, and your story there.
Yeah. Well, I'm one that believes in living through God in action. I think that there's a right and a wrong, and there's things that you do. What would God do? What would Jesus do? And when I grew up, I had a WWJD wristband that I wore all the time. Yeah. And it was just something I would go back to just to kind of think, like, what would he want me to do? And I go, throughout high school, I always had that bracelet on. Yeah. I grew up in a Catholic church. Yeah. And that's my dad's side was Catholic, and my grandma is super religious, goes to church twice a week.
Grandma Schneider.
Yeah, and she's the core of our foundation. And she, so I would always go to the Catholic church, but the vibe, I'm a music guy. I like to be like energized, and I just quite wasn't feeling the vibe at that age. Yeah. So when I got to a point, I kind of could speak up and figure out what I really wanted in my life in that regard. I chose to go the Christian route, and the vibe of the church was phenomenal. It was something I enjoyed doing every Sunday. Yeah. Now in positions that I am in now, I can't do church every Sunday. Right. Obviously there's church services during the week, and I probably need to hit more. Yeah. But I live through faith, man. Yeah. I watch your videos a lot on what you speak out on. And it's great because, I think faith is something people all have inside of them. Yeah. For different types of faith, but we all have it. And we all have heart. We all have determination and goals. Right. And I think speaking out on that, it just allows people to open up a little bit more. And I do that at Big Shots just by being loving, caring, genuine. Yeah. Real, like if people see me here, I'm the same dude at the event. I'm the same dude if we go have a drink. It's the same person, and I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Just be who you are, believe in what you believe in, and have faith. Be the front of your drive. Yeah,
and so like I have young kids. You have a young daughter, and hopefully more in the future. What is something regarding the faith conversation that you want to pass down? I'm hitting you with this. I didn't say anything about I was going to ask you this beforehand, so
I don't mind being put on the spot.
Put on the spot, man. So what do you want to pass down to the next Schneider generation of faith? Like what are the like key components? You talked a little bit about it, but what do you want, Brooklyn, what do you want her to know about it?
I think love, man. I think, when I had to move to different communities and different environments, I was fearless in that way where I wanted to be friends with everybody. Yeah. And growing up as a child, my mom's like, man, you can drift to so many different, pods of friends, and that's what you can do that. And then even to this day, like in running events, I enjoy going to Philly and being with my Philly crew. I enjoy going to Richmond. That's family to me. I go, to Greensboro or Raleigh or wherever, Myrtle Beach. And I think that's something that I would want my child to do is to just, you feel the love and realness when you're around them. Yeah. That's God's actions. That's him, working through you to reach out to other people, and, I think in today's world, that's something that is needed from a lot of people, is just genuine love and being about the right things and trying to make that other person as good as you can be. You know? So.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, man, because I think if there was something that I would have to say about you, is genuine. Yeah. Like I feel like we've always had a real relationship. I've always felt like it's been something where you've been very honest and but you've also been cool and easy to get along with, but I think that's come from a genuine spot. It doesn't ever seem like it's been forced or something that you're just trying to do or put on or anything like that. And I think because of that, that's why you receive that kind of love wherever you go, is because you give it first. Yeah. And I think that's important, that that's something I certainly want my kids to know, is that there's going to be people that treat them like crap. Yeah. There's going to be people that are going to judge them. There's going to be people but they're always going to be responsible for how they treat people. Yep. And that's how we are too. We're in competitive businesses, right? We're in, we're surrounded by our families or friends, or social media is a crazy world right now. And for us to take a a position of we're going to be responsible for how we treat people, regardless of how we get treated.
Yep. And you've always done that. And you do it with your program, now, and your training, and I see it. And it's not fake. One of my good friends I watch a lot, and he and I text often, is Buzz Williams at Virginia Tech. And the program he's built at Virginia Tech is special, And you feel it, you feel it. Tony Bennett's another guy I love that when you're around him, you just truly feel real, and there's no phoniness, and you feel their faith in what they believe in, and their love for their team, their family, and friends. And so,
what's cool about them too is like it took Tony Bennett a little while to get that Virginia machine going. Yeah. But boy, is it a machine now. Oh my gosh.
And they bought in.
And that's it. But like it takes a little while to build a culture. Yeah. And I think so often we're looking for these leaders, these coaches, these people to move into these spots and make it happen right away. Yeah. Make it happen right away. But if given time and doing the right things over time, same thing for Buzz Williams. Like Virginia Tech, when was the last time that Virginia Tech was relevant?
No, like they beat Miami the other day, and in this video he sent me yesterday was the first time in a month they've won 6 ACC games. Oh, wow. And I think that was a big deal for him. But it's fun to see programs and buddies of ours that we've known for many years build that type of culture. Yeah. And it's something that we feel, at Big Shots we try to strive for every day. Yeah. And build culture and a family with what we do. Right. And there's a lot of great companies out there that are doing, along the same. I think Hoop Group's another company that's done the same up in the Northeast. They've built that family culture, and it's about providing a platform for kids. I think sometimes maybe in the business we get too caught up in the business side of it, and we lose sight of what the truly goal of it is. And it's, to me, like I was thinking yesterday, 14 years, man, and to have over 400 million scholarship dollars is that's what it's about.
Well, because those dollars go to families and education. Right? There's families, there's kids behind that, man. And so I think it's that whole culture piece, man, to be able to see those guys do it in a way that is like, man, like we really dig how they're doing it, and they're sticking to their guns and they're being real with who they are. Yep. And I think it's so important for us to be able to do the same and to not worry about when things aren't. See, that's the thing. When things aren't going the way that you had planned or the way that you want them to, sometimes we deviate from who we are, what we stand for, in effort to try to get, the result that we were wanting, and not realizing, like, man, if we just stay that course for a couple of more years, to be in business for what you're doing for 14 years, you guys had to be doing some things right too, and for these cultures of basketball programs in college that are now starting to pop up and being powerhouses, it's taken time for them to get there, but I would imagine that they'll be there for a while too.
Yeah, and they do it the right way. Yeah. And it's fun to see your buddies winning the way they're winning. Yeah. And I think another thing I wanted to touch on too is that I said it earlier in talking about some of the players that we're very close with. I think the game of basketball can take us to different parts of the world. It gives you so many opportunities that you never would have dreamed of. Yeah. I think growing up as kids, we loved the game, but whoever thought the round ball would take you to all the places and all the relationships you've gained over the years. But there's life beyond basketball. And I think that's something that I always stress with players and finding the right fit for college. Jimmy V always had a thing in choosing a school. It came down to campus, community, social, basketball, and people. But all decisions came down to people. Right. And deciding a school, that's what he would use when he'd go in to land a recruit. Well, obviously it worked a lot. Right. He's one of the best of all time. But in saying that, there's life beyond basketball. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in that ball that we don't take in all the things around basketball. And I've explained that to Bryce. And, my brother was at Richmond. It didn't work out. And he found a new home at Nova Southeastern. And I think it's about, the other stuff that you can, surround yourself with basketball. Take classes when you're in college. Don't just be like, oh, man, I got a class I got to go to at 9 a.m.
Right.
Go in there with a goal. Why am I doing it? Why am I going to lift weights? Why am I going to church? Why am I, doing all the things that I am doing? Why?
Right.
And I think if you have an answer to that, you will expand yourself in so many ways in life.
Yeah.
And so life beyond basketball, I think, is big, and it's something I try and even provide for alums that work on our staff.
Right.
Just that opportunity to kind of figure out life after basketball.
Right. I dig it, man. I dig it. That why part is huge. So what's next? Like what's down the line for the Schneiders? Are we going to have a starting 5 of little ones running around? Are we what's next?
What's fun is you have, Dwayne West, good buddy of mine that runs Garner Road. He has a daughter now, and Bruce Shingler, at South Carolina, assistant coach there. His daughter's name is Brooklyn, the same as mine,
right.
So I could form a really good team.
Right.
Really, no, but I think, just having healthy children, I like to have a nice team, and hopefully that continues to grow.
Right.
And hopefully everything works out as expected. But, as far as big shots, I think just run the best events we can and continue to grow. I think, our events are really good quality, and that's something I strive for, quality over quantity, and we've learned that over the years.
Sure.
I think, we were running over 100 events at one point, and it gave me some gray hairs.
Yeah.
But I think now our schedule is very good and providing for players that opportunity. And we try and get to as many games. I'm planning on going to your game tonight, senior night at Christian Academy. And happy for those guys that come through your program under your tutelage over the years. And so we try and branch out to go to as many games and prep and get the best facilities and destinations we can get for our teams that are playing in big shots.
Yeah. I dig it, man.
Yeah.
So one thing, guys, we're going to send it back to you, audience. One thing that Kevin really hit on that stuck with me was why? For those young athletes that are going to be going to school, why are you going to that school? What's attracting you there? And then when you're there, how do you expand the most out of it? How do you get the most out of it? If you're going to class, why are you doing it? If you're going to church, why are you doing it? And if we can lock into that why, then we'll get the most out of it. So for you listening, what are you doing and why are you doing it? And if you can tap into why you're doing it, some stuff you'll be able to cut out because you'll realize that, it's just silly for you to be doing it. But then on the other hand, you may be figuring out what your driving purpose is of why you're doing it, and you'll get more out of it. So Kev, appreciate having you on, man.
It's awesome.
No doubt.
I always enjoy it, being in the gym with you or in front of the camera, man. We always have a good time.
Always, man. Always.
Pleasure.
F2, we out of here.